I'd like to have seen him cautioned. I would like to have seen Gakpo get a yellow card for simulation there.
And I must admit, I watched 4 or 5 different replays and I couldn't see whether there was contact or there wasn't contact. There's no such thing as a soft penalty.
No, but that was a soft penalty. Because it looks unorthodox, a lot of people would say penalty. The VAR then will not get involved because there's nothing to suggest that he's made that clear error, so we go with the referee. This game was a really difficult game to referee. I watched it. I counted at least 7 occasions in the first half hour of this game where players would go into ground very easily in the attempt to win a free kick. You're a good learner, Sam. You're doing really, really well. I think you're ready for your first under-8s game very shortly. I'm going to come and watch you. It's an error, but it's only detected in slow motion. And this is the life and the world of match officials now, assistant referees and referees. You're actually judged on every single decision.
And remember, if you want to go back and listen to any of the big programmes that we've done on Men in Black over the course of the last few months, then you can access it via the talkSPORT YouTube channel or the Premier League All Access feed, wherever you get your podcasts from. Right, OK, we begin this week at the GTEC Community Stadium.
He's got Ouattara to his right. This is all inside the Liverpool box. Damsgaard's gone down off the ball, and then a challenge comes in on the edge of the penalty area from Van Dijk. And Ouattara's been fouled, and it's a free kick to Brentford, 5 outside the penalty area. Let's have a look.
My final decision is penalty.
It is a penalty. Tim Robinson says that the VAR has had a look at it, and after review, the contact was inside the box. Arne Slot now looks at a monitor to see whether he agrees, but having another look at a different angle, that angle actually makes it look as though it's outside the penalty area. I thought the previous one made it look as though it was in. Just a little bit of news, Resh. We've got a change of referee here because Simon Hooper, the referee, has been injured, we understand, and Tim Robinson, the 4th official, is going to take over. He's been out warming up, and Mr. Hooper will become 4th official for the second half. That means that there is a delay ahead of the restart of the second half. We would have expected the game to restart about 3 minutes ago, but that's why this half-time is being elongated. Change of referee.
Brentford 3, Liverpool 2. Simon Hooper was the referee in the first half of this very good game. Tim Robinson in the second half. We'll explain that in just a second. Chris Kavanagh was the VAR. It's a brilliant game of football, but we're going to focus on a couple of major incidents. Let's start with Nathan Collins and Cody Gakpo. Just a minute before half-time and just before the Kevin Schade goal as well. Liverpool trailing. Cody Gakpo goes down inside the penalty area under a challenge from Nathan Collins. Now, the on-field referee at the time is Simon Hooper, and he doesn't give a penalty. Play continues. The VAR doesn't get involved. The referee's call of no penalty stands. Nathan Collins didn't touch the ball here, Chris. So was there contact enough for a penalty?
Sam, I've just picked up on a word you used then. You mentioned challenge. I don't think there was a challenge by Collins. I think he just stands there and Cody Gakpo sort of finds the leg and goes over him. And he chucks his arms in the air as well in the hope of the referee awarding a penalty kick. I think the referee did really well in the first instance not giving a penalty because it wasn't a penalty. I'd like to have seen him cautioned. I would like to have seen Gakpo get a yellow card for simulation there because it just doesn't look right to me. I think if you fall into ground, you put your arms out in front of you, you don't put them in the air. Albeit there might have been minimal contact. He was certainly intending to deceive the referee in that situation. If he'd have got a yellow card, I don't think he could have too many complaints.
Well, one of the issues that I had, and I watched this back almost as live on Saturday night, trying to keep watching it to see what it was like to be a viewer in this situation, because the replays didn't come for ages because the goal was scored so quickly afterwards, so we didn't get to see the incident for a little while. And I must admit, I watched 4 or 5 different replays and I couldn't see whether there was contact or there wasn't contact. I thought maybe that the VAR decided that the pictures were inconclusive and therefore didn't intervene. But do you think it was a dive?
Yeah, I think he's gone to ground far too easy. As I said, I thought the referee did really well not giving a penalty. I liken it to yourself, Sam, if you're in the supermarket carrying 2 bags of shopping. If I put my leg out, you ain't going to go to ground, are you?
Depends what's in the bags.
Yeah, you could say that. But when you look at the action of Gakpo, he throws his arms in the air. But the referee did the first part really well. In my opinion, if he gets a yellow card for simulation, he can't have too many complaints.
Okay, let's move on. There was a penalty awarded to Brentford in the 56th minute. Van Dijk has a little nibble at Dongo Ouattara. Now, basically, he's advancing towards the penalty area. The referee gives a free kick because he thinks Van Dijk has kicked him on the under part of the heel. This is now Tim Robinson who's in charge because the fourth official has taken over from the injured Simon Hooper at half-time. But after reviewing the footage, the VAR determines that Van Dijk's challenge is actually on the line. Because this is a factual decision and not a subjective one, the VAR instructed the referee just to overturn his original decision, which was free kick, and it now becomes a penalty. Just clarify why the referee wasn't sent to the monitor.
Yeah, okay. So the decision on field is free kick. The VAR will check that, Chris Kavanagh. Yeah, it's not a clear and obvious error. So the next bit is not subjective; it's a matter of fact, isn't it? The simple question is the offence in the penalty area or out of the penalty area? And you saw the referee do the announcement about the decision that the VAR has informed him that it is actually on the line, and on the line is inside. So it was a penalty and not a direct free kick.
Yeah, okay. Would he have given the foul if he had known it was in the penalty area? Because Michael Carrick was talking over the weekend. He said he thinks referees think about the wider consequences of giving a penalty as opposed to just a free kick and would usually judge fouls accordingly. Is there a level of truth to that? Would he have changed his mind if he had known that it was in the area?
No, I don't think so. I think what you find is if you give him free kicks, sometimes you'll delay the whistle because there's a possibility of an advantage with a penalty. It very much comes from your stomach. You see an incident and you blow the whistle. If you're asking me if this penalty was a soft penalty, there's no such a thing as a soft penalty, but this was a soft penalty. I think the fly in the ointment for this one with me was where he actually set up the free kick was about 2 metres outside the penalty area, which I was a little bit surprised with. But he's given the decision. Was it soft? Yeah, it was. Is it wrong? No, it's not. Probably one to reflect on. We talk about the high bar for intervention, but once it's given, it's not going to be overturned.
There's no such thing as a soft penalty.
No, but that was a soft penalty.
It felt a little bit harsh, didn't it? Because the level of contact wasn't that significant. I wonder if there should be a little bit of a law change to cover these situations. What do you think?
Goodness me, the IFAB are going to be busy, aren't they? Because we're looking at second yellow cards, balling out of play, degree of contact. Sam, we're going to be here all week.
I mean, is it difficult for a referee to sort of judge the degree of contact? Because like a lot of people will say, come on, there's always going to be a little bit of contact when both players are going for the ball. We don't want penalties given in these sort of circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, you can only referee on what you see, and what Tim Robinson sees in that situation. He sees the boot go through the bottom of Ouattara's foot, and he gives a penalty. That sometimes can happen. That's the world of a referee.
Okay, we've already mentioned Simon Hooper was replaced at half-time. The ref was subbed, and the fourth official, Tim Robinson, came on. Have you ever experienced that in one of your games? Have you ever had to be subbed? Have you ever been subbed on?
You don't know what's coming here, do you?
No.
So I refereed a game a few years ago at Newcastle, and I think it was Colaccini, the central defender for Newcastle, clears the ball, he blasts the ball, it deflects off an opponent and hits me straight plumb in the face. So I'm stood looking at the Gallagate end, my eyes are streaming, my nose is getting wider, my lips are swelling up, and the next thing I'm on my haunches, then I'm on my hands and knees, then I'm flat out on the floor. So I remember the doctor coming on with the physio and sort of bringing me to my senses. I got to my feet and he said, how long have we been playing? And I went, about 20 minutes. He said, okay. So I'm walking off with him. And he said, what we'll do, we'll get you to the touchline. And once the referee starts play, we'll get you back on. And I said, am I not the referee? He said, well, you were, but not now. So I spent the rest of the match sat in the changing room, being observed, was driven home and was grounded for 2 weeks under concussion protocol. Not too much sympathy about that afternoon, Sam, let me tell you.
No, I bet the Gallagher gave you a standing ovation as you were subbed off. Not. Brilliant, love it. Let's move on. Manchester United 4, Brighton 2. The referee at Old Trafford on Saturday for what was a really good Manchester United performance, actually. Anthony Taylor, the VAR, Michael Oliver. Probably the two top referees in the country. There was a potential penalty. De Kuyper on Ahmad in the 15th minute. Ahmad Diallo goes running into the penalty area down the right-hand side. He drew Maxime De Kuyper into making a challenge. As he cut back inside the defender, De Kuyper flicked out his right leg. Seemingly, it looked like he'd tripped the Manchester United attacker. I think the first instinct for a lot of people was that was going to be a penalty. But having viewed the incident, the VAR checked and completed a non-penalty award, which is what Anthony Taylor gave in the first place. He said no penalty. And then when we got the explanation, the referee's call of no penalty to Manchester United was checked and confirmed by the VAR and deemed that De Kuyper played the ball. You and I were watching this game and we were texting one another. We felt it was not a penalty from the minute it happened, but for a very different reason. What is your reaction to this scenario?
Yeah, what I try and do, Sam, when I watch games is I look at incidents and the way Ahmad went into the defender, I thought, you know what, that might be a dive. And then I looked at it again and I'm listening to Gary Neville and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, it was very unorthodox. But what's happened is there is contact on the ball. And what Anthony Taylor has done, he's got himself in a really good position here. And when he communicates to the VAR that he's played the ball, that then means the VAR isn't going to get involved unless he hasn't. So he's obviously seen clear evidence, Michael Oliver, the VAR, to suggest, you know what Anthony Taylor has seen on field is right. He has played the ball and then the contact comes secondary. So it was check complete and no penalty. But I think it's a decision that, because it looks unorthodox, a lot of people would say penalty. Some people would say that there was an element of the player going to ground. But when the referee makes that decision on field, and that's what we want referees to make decisions, and he did, and he knows what he's seen, he's looked at it. The VAR then will not get involved because there's nothing to suggest that he's made that clear error, so we go with the referee.
It's another one of those penalty decisions where a touch on the ball seems to be a key factor as to whether a judged foul has been committed or not. Manchester United, Chelsea, Robert Sanchez, Newcastle, Arsenal, Nick Pope, Fulham, Newcastle, Kevin the other week. There are three other incidents like this that have occurred in recent weeks. What is the difference between this one and some of those? I mean, when I was watching, and I've watched it a good few times back today, and I can't really see that much contact, but my initial thought is that Ahmad is trying to go into the air before any challenge is being made. So I can understand why a penalty isn't given. It certainly doesn't reach the clear and obvious benchmark, I don't think. And that's what we've got to judge the VAR and these interventions by.
Wouldn't disagree with what you said, Sam. I think the difference with this one, it looked very unorthodox, didn't it? It was as though he stuck his leg out behind him. It didn't look like a normal challenge. But as I said, if the referee is in pole position where he was and he clearly says he's played the ball, then the VAR isn't going to get involved. I think it was the unorthodox nature of it. But it's one of those situations that, you know, you're not unpicking because there was a lot in it. And if the referee has made that decision on field, then it's not a clear and obvious error. So you go with that as the VAR and it's check complete and the game's allowed to continue.
Second big incident in this game, a possible foul by Luke Shaw in the build-up to Brian Mbeumo's goal. He's the third goal for Manchester United, 61st minute. Brighton lost possession in the centre of the pitch. The ball turns over. Brighton felt as if Luke Shaw had fouled Jorginho Ruter. Anthony Taylor had a good view of the incident, didn't feel that it was the threshold for a holding offence against the criteria set to him by the Premier League. The contact by Shaw on Ruter was reviewed by the VAR and it was felt that the on-field decision to allow play to continue was the correct outcome. He's having a little pull of his shirt. There's a bit of a tussle between the two. Now, the holding apparently was minimal, not sustained, and did not directly impact Ruter's ability to continue to play. Fulham fans rubbing their hands with glee here. Inconsistency alert. Where's the klaxon? Right, let's take you back to the Chelsea Fulham game where Josh King scores an absolute belting goal at Stamford Bridge and Trevor Chalobah has stepped on someone's foot and the VAR has got involved back, or had his foot stepped on in the build-up to the goal, and they pull it back to that foul and disallow the goal. Are you telling me that this doesn't have an impact on the outcome of the next event?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. This game was a really difficult game to referee. I watched it. I counted at least 7 occasions in the first half hour of this game where players would go into ground very easily in the attempt to win a free kick. And Anthony Taylor was quite right. He let play continue. He refereed the same way in the Chelsea-Liverpool game where players are going to ground. And referees aren't punishing minimal contact. Listen, make no mistake, there is a slight tug on the shirt. It is really, really minimal. But the way the player went to ground, the two things don't dovetail in, Sam. They don't correlate. It was a split second and play was allowed to continue. If I put myself in the shoes of the referee, there is no way I would give a foul for that. No way, because it just doesn't marry up.
I suppose the other thing we have to consider in these circumstances is that it has to be a clear and obvious error to be overturned, right? So if the referee says to the VAR, yeah, I've seen that and I'm not having it, play on, it has to be something really significant for the VAR to then say, well, actually, I think he's really held him back to stop him from playing the ball. It has to be a very big offence in order for him to stop play and advise a review.
Absolutely, and the referee will have seen that. You know, as I said, we use the word fleeting. It's a momentary thing. It's not a grab of a shirt and a pull where it's coming away from his body. It's minimal contact. And when you see what actually happened in real time, it's a split second, and the player just throws himself to the ground in the hope of winning a free kick. I think the referee was right on this occasion to allow play continue. It would have been checked, but no clear and obvious error for me.
I also feel there's a little bit of benefit when you're watching it in real time. You sort of assessing the movements of the players and the speed of the play, rather than watching a slow-mo replay where everything looks a little bit more sustained.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. If you look at anything in slow motion or still frame, you can find situations in matches. But on this occasion, I was more than comfortable with the outcome.
Okay, Patrick Dorgu was accused of a potential denial of a goal-scoring opportunity in the 72nd minute of the same game. Anthony Taylor blew for a Brighton foul after Yankuba Minte was brought down as he raced through one-on-one. Actually, he'd got a little bit of a heavy touch and the ball was running through to Senna Lomons, and he lost control of the ball, really, to be honest with you, and then he sort of tried to wait for a foul. I don't know what Patrick Dorgu was doing, but he did eventually commit a foul. He got a yellow card for that. Now, I think the Brighton fans were looking for a red card for the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. For me, this was pretty clear as soon as I saw it. He's not in control of the ball, which is one of the 4 criteria which you have to assess when assessing denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. Am I getting a tick for that, headmaster? And nor is he going to get it, because by the time he picks it up, it's in the goalkeeper's hands.
You're a good learner, Sam. You're doing really, really well. I think you're ready for your first under-8s game very shortly. I'm going to come and watch you. I think what we've got to do, Sam, is we've got to get away from the myth of last man, you've got to go. I mean, I saw it once on TV where a player had been sent off and in brackets it actually said, last man. I'm like, that's not an offence. I think you've called it absolutely right. The ball is running through. It's a foul. It's a yellow card. It's an offence. But the goalkeeper is going to collect the ball because the likelihood of the player regaining possession is very, very slim. And I think that's really important in this situation. So on-field decision, again, good solid decision making from the referee. Checked by the VAR, again, the right outcome in that situation. But we've got to get away from this phrase, last man, you got to go.
So Manchester United, Brighton, are we getting a situation where as Anthony Taylor walks into the referee's room afterwards, do they give him a standing ovation? Well done, ref. Well done, ref. You got everything right there. Is this where we are with this one? I
don't remember ever having a standing ovation as a referee ever, I don't think. But I did have a lot of you don't know what you're doing. I've had plenty of them, but let me tell you.
Let's move on.
Everton 1, Tottenham 1. Jake O'Brien thinks he scored his first goal since March. It is being checked by VAR for a possible offside. I think it's Iliman and Jai standing potentially the wrong side of Vicario. Well, the referee is going over to the monitor, so he's going to take a second look at this. No goal is the final call from Craig Pawson. Not just Iliman and Jai. He referenced Jack Grealish there
both standing in an offside position.
Everton 0, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Craig Pawson in charge of this game. The VAR is Stuart Atwell. Jake O'Brien thought he'd scored an equalising goal in the 24th minute of this game with a really good header, actually. However, it was overturned, and the decision by the VAR was that there was an offside offence against Iliman Ndiaye and Jack Grealish. I think when you look at the review, it was pretty clear that those two players were not only in offside positions, but they were also preventing the goalkeeper, however bad his goalkeeping was, from playing the ball. Because actually, he didn't get his movements particularly right, and he was very soft in trying to come for that ball, but they were in his way, and by the letter of the law, the goal has to be chalked off, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, being in an offside position is not automatically an offence. You only get penalised when you get involved in active play. And I think the action of Ndiaye with the goalkeeper, I actually saw an image last night where he was underneath his armpit at one point. And I'm thinking to myself, he was never onside. And quite clearly the goal is scored by Jake O'Brien and we know it's checked. But because it's a subjective offside, the referee, Craig Pawson, has to go to the monitor. And I think there's a general acceptance across the game, you know, last night and now that was the correct decision. I don't think there'll be too many complaints with that one.
There was a few complaints inside the stadium, though. Those people that were in the stadium didn't really understand what was going on and why that offence was given. Do we need better explanations in stadiums?
I think we've improved significantly, Sam, because what we do see now is we see the referee announce the decision, which is really helpful. We see the Premier League X account, which tweets out the facts of what happened, you know, not an opinion, it's the facts. And any overturn or definitive clip is actually shown on the big screen. So I think that really is helpful in that regard. I think we've come a long way, haven't we, in relation to communication. I think it's really important, that as well.
Yeah, it's something that we said right from the very start when we had the meetings about VAR being implemented in the Premier League, and we were very strong on the fact that there needed to be good communication. It's taken a little while for us to get to a point where we're having these announcements, but also putting stuff on the big screen. I don't think that this decision went on the big screen. The reports from inside the stadium were that it didn't, and people were a little bit confused about it. But the VAR explanation itself, or the referee announcement itself, says after review, Everton 10 and 18 were in an offside position, interfering with the goalkeeper. The final decision is an indirect free kick in the 6-yard box. Is that a sufficient number of words? Does he need to say, instead of interfering with the goalkeeper, does he need to say preventing the goalkeeper from playing the ball, so that everybody understands it in basic English language rather than sort of it being subjective?
I think sometimes in that regard, Sam, less is more. What you don't want is to be going in reams and reams of speech. I think it's important to have clarity. I think that is really important, and brevity and speed. I think that is, again, is the thing. And don't forget, the pictures paint 1,000 words. When we get that overturn and we see that definitive clip on the big screen, I've seen it in the past, when there's been a referee's given a caution and then gone to the monitor, changed their opinion and given a red, and the whole crowd are like, because you see it and it sort of calms everybody down. So, as I said, the definitive clip on the overturn is really, really good in my opinion.
Okay, so our producer, Joe, who is a ref and he does under 12s games, not under 8s, he was asking the question, did they really, genuinely, materially interfere with Vicario's ability to save that header? Absolutely.
Never onside, making no attempt to get onside. As I said, I saw the image where Iliman Ndiaye was under the armpit of Vicario. I think there's an acceptance across the game that is offside. I don't hear too many dissenting voices. I don't even think David Moyes complained about that one. I think it's pretty clear cut in my opinion.
Okay, let's get to the Vitality Stadium.
It's direct from a corner. Bournemouth 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Tavernier, the goal scorer. He's whipped it in, left-footed, in-swinging from the corner, and Sells makes a mess of it. No Bournemouth players around him, really. Adams does give him a little shove, actually, as I watch the replay. Don't know whether VAR will check it. Forest were fuming in the build-up because they felt the ball actually came off Tavernier and should have been a goal kick anyway in the first place. They're demonstrating over to the fourth official on the far-hand side. So Forest unhappy. This will be checked. 25 minutes played. It's Bournemouth 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Forest not happy.
Bournemouth 2, Nottingham Forest 0. The referee Sam Barrett here, the VAR Matt Donoghue. Bournemouth scored from a corner. It was a very good Olympico, straight from a corner, but it was a corner that shouldn't have been. The 25th minute on the clock, Marcus Tavernier tried to cross the ball, which was blocked by Nottingham Forest defender Nico Williams. It comes back off Tavernier. The referee gave a corner instead of a goal kick. Here's what Sean Dyche had to say about it post-match.
Why detail down everything, every analysis moment now, but not do that then? That's why I get frustrated, because, they analyse everything now. Every media outlet, every team analyse everything. And then something as clear and obvious as that, and yet they do nothing about it. That's got to be frustrating for everyone. It certainly is for me as manager. And don't get me wrong, I'm not making anything about the result. I thought they were the better side overall, and they deserved to be in front at half-time. So there's no excuses there. But that's just a moment I just find it, because I've said this in so many meetings, when the linesperson makes a decision and the referee's in a worse position and somehow overrules them, I can't work that out.
Well, Dyche's right, isn't he? It wasn't a corner. It was definitely a goal kick. He also complained that Tyler Adams had pushed Sells as he tried to pour Tavernier's delivery over the crossbar. I'm not having that bit, but I am having the fact that it shouldn't have been a corner in the first place. But VAR cannot interfere in this situation. But do you sympathise with the manager? Should VAR's remit be extended so that it leads to goals like this being checked?
When you see that in real time, I don't think many people wouldn't give a corner. When you see it in slow motion, and match officials don't have the benefit of slow motion in these situations, yes, it shouldn't have been a corner. It's an error, but it's only detected in slow motion. And this is the life and the world of match officials now, assistant referees and referees. You're actually judged on every single decision. Easy to spot in slow-mo, very difficult to spot in real time. Okay, I understand that. And then obviously a goal comes from it, because we now understand that when that happens, there'll be a lot more noise. Was there a foul on the goalkeeper? No, there wasn't. It was obviously checked by the VAR. But the referee in this game, Sam Barrett, gets no credit for playing an absolutely outstanding advantage when Anderson fouled Adams through the middle of the park and Bournemouth scored. That seems to just pale into insignificance, but you're judged on whether you get a goal kick corner, right or wrong, and that's the world of a referee. But no praise for playing a fabulous advantage that leads to a goal.
Well, I must admit, we texted about that last night, and our reporter Alfie Reynolds, who was at the game, was keen to point out there was a very, very good advantage played by the referee. So, Chris, if you're listening to talkSPORT, you'll know that everybody gets the credit that they deserve. Dyche claims that he shouldn't have been booked. Is it good to see referees being stronger on managerial dissent to help those further down the pyramid? Because he was quite vocal into the referees here, although he always says, actually, he never swears at referees. He never goes sort of too harsh with them, but he does talk to them a lot.
Yeah, he is. He's full on, Sean, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, we've got the participant behaviour charter now, haven't we, which was brought in, PGMO, LMA, FA, PFA. Clubs have bought into this, and it's about protecting the image of the game. It's about fairness. It's about respect. Obviously, Sean's got upset about that goal kick corner. He's obviously said the wrong thing and got cautioned. And one of the things that's levelled at me, if I go and speak to anybody really about football, is, at the top level, you need to do more. Well, I think that's a little bit unfair at the minute, because we do see managers caution. We've seen that a number of times this season. Referees are being very strong on that. We all have this massive duty to protect the image of the game, which is a game that we all love. And sometimes people will overstep the line. Sometimes that is out of anger. Sometimes that's out of frustration. Sean was obviously frustrated about that decision. And if he's overstepped the mark, then, he's been quite rightly cautioned.
So just to clarify, you're 100% comfortable that there was no interference or no foul at all by Tyler Adams as this corner kick is being taken that puts Matt Sells into a difficult position so that he cannot read the flight of the ball and therefore stop this from going in?
100%. I looked at it. I looked at it last night. I just don't see a foul. It's no offence to stand where he's standing. And the goalkeeper obviously doesn't save it. We know because a goal scored that the VAR will check that. That's really important. Matt Donoghue was VAR for this one, and he's comfortable with it. So no offence, goal scored, goal good.
Paquetá with a little effort. It comes back to him kindly. It's off the roof of the bar and in. I think he might be offside here. The referee has given the goal initially on field. Paquetá has scored for West Ham, and now the flag goes up over on the far side and it's ruled out. I thought it was offside initially. The VAR will certainly check it.
Leeds beat West Ham on Friday Night Live on talkSPORT. Stuart Atwell was the referee. James Bell was the VAR. Lucas Paquetá had a goal disallowed for offside. This is in the 34th minute. I mean, West Ham 2-0 down by this point. And Paquetá converted off the ball, cannoned off Callum Wilson and into his path. It was ruled out for offside. Now, the ball went into the net off the underside of the crossbar. I was at this game. And it took a good 7 or 8 seconds for the goal to be ruled out by the on-field team. I don't know if they were having conversation or they're giving themselves a bit of time and distance. But the referee's call of no goal was checked and confirmed by the VAR with Paquetá in an offside position. When the ball comes back off Callum Wilson, it was almost like a block tackle, or he was trying to sort of force the ball forward as he was being challenged. Now, due to technical issues, semi-automated offside technology wasn't available. I wasn't aware of this when I was commentating on the game during the VAR check. The VAR was required to manually construct the lines in the way we used to, the crosshairs, during the determining of the decision. First of all, any questions at all over Wilson's deliberate play to Paquetá?
No, well, what we've got to understand with this one is the assistant referee who was opposite the tunnel at the end where it happened, Mark Perry, has actually put his flag up and given offside. So we're talking about deliberate play deflection. It is a deliberate play. It's a kick in motion, so there's no problem with that. The next bit, Sam, you're talking about is obviously semi-automated. Well, if if semi-automated isn't working, then we revert back to where we were with the crosshairs, and that was done by the VAR James Bell. It's the correct decision. It obviously took a little bit longer because we didn't have semi-automated. But it's very difficult to criticise when we do get the right call, even if it does take a little bit longer sometimes.
Just explain to me, first of all, the deliberate play angle of this. He's got to be seen to be making a kicking motion in order for it to be assessed as him deliberately attempting to play the ball forward. If someone clears it against him, it hits him in the face and goes through to Paquetá, would that have been a goal?
Well, no, because it's not a deliberate play, is it? It's a deflection. You know, we talk about deliberate play deflection. It does what it says on the tin. So if the ball deflects off your body, then that is obviously not a deliberate act. If you're making a play in motion, that is a deliberate act. But as I said, I was more than comfortable with this decision.
Okay, so just to clarify, Rodon, if he clears the ball against Wilson and it just hits him in the face and goes through the Paquetá, he pops it off the bar and in, that's a goal. If Callum Wilson goes to kick the ball and it deflects into Paquetá's path, it's not a goal.
Yeah, just remember the words deliberate play, deflection. You'll not go far wrong there.
With the semi-automated offside technology, it's not the first time it has failed. In fact, it was Monday Night Football involving West Ham, where also a goal had to be assessed without semi-automated offside technology. It's twice in 5 days. Should it be suspended until the technology is capable of meeting the level of expectation, or are you comfortable with it and the way it's operated so far?
No, I think you leave it as it is. I mean, what you've got to understand with the match officials who are operating as VARs, they're going undertaking more training now than they've ever done, intensive training. You've got to be able to, revert to the default position sometimes if something does go wrong. I mean, crikey, what's it like at home, Sam, when your router goes off for your broadband?
Or your printer doesn't work, which is the most baffling thing in the world.
Then I've got to pick the phone up and ring you rather than WhatsApp you. So in this situation, more training. There's still a cross. You mentioned the crosshairs using the lines. That's fine. A little bit slower, yes. But quite clearly, when the technology isn't available, you revert back to the default position. And I don't have a problem with it. It just took a little bit longer. But it's about getting the decision right. And on this occasion, it was fine. So we'll see where that takes us this weekend.
And you're happy with the fact that in some games, semi-automatic offside technology isn't in place, and then it is, and then it comes back, and then it's not. Does that not sort of affect the integrity of the match or even the game? Should you not, if you have a situation like we had on Monday night, for example, when you started the game without semi-automated offside technology, should you not use it at all for the whole of the game?
No, it doesn't affect the integrity of the match. I mean, if you look back to last season, it only came in match round 30-something, I think it was. So people are happy with that. Obviously, they'll be working hard to make sure that it's functioning this weekend. So you've always got to have a default position, and that default position was drawing the crosshairs and the lines, which was fine.
Chris is very happy this weekend because he doesn't think that any of the decisions that were made by the VARs and the referees were spurious. He thinks that they deserve a round of applause. So he's in a happy place, aren't you, Chris? Look at that little face. We're in a good place with VAR this week, as we are in a good place with handball. We haven't even had a handball discussion this week. It's quite amazing, isn't it?
I know, yeah. No handball, but what a great weekend of football. Loads of goals, loads of action, loads of talking points. Don't we just love the Premier League?
Mate, it's been absolutely brilliant this weekend.
I know.
Superb.
Great.
Great fun. Thank you very much, Chris. Back next week to review all the big decisions in the Premier League, the VAR assessments and all sorts of discussions about whether or not decisions are right and wrong continue on our Instagram page, on our Premier League WhatsApp as well. Make sure you get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. We are Men in Black, and we'll be back next week.